Meta, and I serve as an assistant director at Career and Professional Development here at Virginia Tech. My goal for today is to answer as many of your recent graduates' recent questions that you submitted in advance, as well as have time for some live Q&A. Everything today is going to be focused around your job search in the pandemic. So this is only geared towards May and August 2020 graduates. We'll start with questions submitted in advance while you were registering, and then we will leave time for some live Q&A. So as you're thinking of questions during the event, feel free to submit those in the Q&A portion. That should be on the lower part of your screen, rather than using the chat feature. If you have any technical questions or technical issues with Zoom, feel free to put those in the chat box and we can help you. But for questions for the panelists today, please use the Q&A section. So let's dive right in by introducing our lovely panelists today. So Jonathan Byers, Raven over there, he is an assistant director in our office who works with the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences. He is also a certified federal career advisor. So if you are searching for a federal job, definitely go meet with Jonathan. Then we have Claire Childress. She is an associate director in our office and oversees a group of career advisors, including Jonathan and myself. And she has worked with a lot of different populations over her tenure at Virginia Tech, most recently with the College of Engineering. Then we have Jim Henderson. He is an associate director for employer relations. That is the team of staff in the Career and Professional Development Office who help recruiters recruit Hokies. Then there's me, Melissa Meta. Again, I serve as an assistant director, and I work specifically with the graduate school, helping our master's and doctoral students in their job search and career exploration. And then we have Stephen White. He is not a panelist today. He is going to be our lovely moderator. So he will be managing all the questions, pre-submitted and live questions. So Stephen, I am going to pass it off to you to get us started with our first question.
Great, thank you. Okay, the first question I am going to direct to Claire. So Claire, can you tell us what are the best resources for recent grads to find jobs?
Okay, sure. So before I address the question, I want to say congratulations to all of you Hokies. What a milestone you have reached to graduate from Virginia Tech. So congratulations that you've reached this milestone as we're in this challenging time together. So a best resource, I believe, is personal contacts. And I think we're going to talk about networking some more, so I'll leave that till later. But some resources that come to mind, three key ones, are Handshake, which I know you used to sign up to attend this roundtable today. It's a great resource for you to use, as it's the tool that we make available to employers who want to access you and share their job listing with you. So Handshake is a wonderful resource for you to use. It's also a wonderful resource for you to search for a contact at a particular employer. Not all employers share that information in Handshake, but some do, so it's a great tool for that. Another great resource is Career Shift. You can access that resource right from the very front of our website. That resource, it lets you do a really tailored job search for the kind of position that you're interested in, and as well as targeting a certain geographic location if that matters to you. You can also search for contacts in Career Shift, and you can also get ideas of different kinds of industries or organizations that you could pursue by doing an organization search. It's a wonderful resource we make available to Hokies. And then third is Going Global. Going Global is a great resource that's also accessible from the very front of our website. And it's great if you have a certain geographic location where you'd like to work in the US, or a certain country you'd like to work in. All over the world, it links you to job listing resources for a particular city in the US or country. And it's also a wonderful resource for international students with its H-1B Plus database that taps into Department of Labor data to let you see prior employers who went through the sponsorship process previously with a hire. A great resource for an international student to develop a target list of employers. And then also a question about staffing agencies. I would, as you look at a staffing agency, I would make sure that you research their fee structure. Are they going to require you a finder's fee, or do they only make employers pay that fee? And then I would also ask for references so you can talk to some people who successfully use that staffing agency before you tap into that staffing agency.
Great, thank you. All right, for the next question, we will go to Jonathan. How and why should you be tailoring your resume and cover letter when job searching? And how do you make your application stand out from the crowd?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So I think in thinking about looking for a job that appeals to you, I know employers are looking to see how well can your resume connect to the job that you're looking for. So I think for any job that you're pursuing, the first thing I will focus on is the job description. I know not all job descriptions are written well, but they are a good job description. You're going to find clues in that job description regarding things that employers are looking for, what they're targeting for their job search for applicants and what have you. So when tailoring your resume, think about, okay, what things have I done academically, non-academically, that best fit that role, that best fit that job search. And then think about what is relevant. And again, if you don't have a lot of work experience that connects with that job, think about, again, what have I done as a student? I know a lot of you, all of you as recent graduates, think about what you've done in the classroom. So again, think about course projects, research, think about going to conferences, making presentations, and then you can use terms like relevant on your resume to connect that information to that job. So again, don't discount your academic experience. And I'll talk about this more later, but other areas like being involved on campus, leadership, volunteer experience, again, think about what's relevant and then try to tailor your resume where whatever is most relevant to that position or that job description is included at the very top of the resume. So you can definitely get your resume to that job in that way as well too. So again, look at the job description and again, think about, again, how can I best connect what I've done to the actual job experience as well? And the same thing I think also applies to cover letters. Again, thinking about if you have an experience that you've organized, created, or that shows your skills, think about a snapshot from that experience and then share a story on your cover letter that best connects to that job description. I would say for a cover letter, don't rehash your resume. The cover letter should look different than the resume. So again, with a cover letter, think about maybe 1 or 2 snapshot stories. So for example, if one of your bullet points in your resume is organize 15 research projects for an experience in Europe, think about one of those projects, think about a short story you want to share in your cover letter, and use that for one of your paragraphs for the cover letter when you share that with your application materials. As you will hear a lot throughout the day, if you have more questions about that, we're here to help you tailor that in your own specific area to that job you're applying for. So hope that helps to kind of, again, that topic off and answer that question.
Great, thank you. Okay, Alyssa, this one's for you. What should we consider if we can't travel to see the company or city in person before accepting a job offer?
It's a really good question, and something that I work with a lot of students on while doing practice interviews. Often for the final round of an interview, both an academic job search and a non-academic job search, they'll fly you there so you can see the site, meet the team, maybe see the new geographic location, even do some housing searches, and all of that has moved virtual or just doesn't happen anymore. So what can we do to help with that? First, if you are going to do a final round interview that would have been on site, you can definitely ask more pointed questions to the interviewers that can really get at the work culture, that can get at more of what the team is really like and dynamics. Definitely asking more pointed questions to your supervisor or who would be your supervisor to see more of that personality match. You can also ask more of questions like, so how did your team get together for social events or for non-work related? And then you can definitely share with the hiring committee what your hobbies are, what your interests are, and see if they have any advice. So maybe if you Really, like for me, I really enjoy yoga and hot yoga. I can ask around in that area, is there any good studios that you would recommend? I did that when I did my interview here, and during my drive to the airport, somebody actually showed me around and brought me to the yoga studio, so it was really nice. So you can do some of that research on your own by sharing some of your interests and hobbies. You can also use the internet. So you can use Google Maps to, drop the little pin down in the location and look around the neighborhoods to see, would I want to be living in this neighborhood, or what is there to do around? Where is the local yoga studio in comparison? So utilize that technology that Google Maps allows you to do. And same thing with the internet. You can look at Facebook events or even just Google search events that typically happen, non-pandemic times, to see what are some live events in person that normally happen. What are the concerts, festivals, any type of events there, to get a feel for that new city. I think that's just about it. Definitely asking more pointed questions and then utilizing some of that technology too.
Great. Okay, Jen, would you mind sharing with us, are there certain fields that are hiring more due to the pandemic, and are there certain sectors that are less affected by COVID-19?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Certainly there are industries, everyone's been impacted. You can't shut down the whole economy without impacting pretty much every part of the economy. Certain industries have been hurt more than others. Certainly manufacturing, tourism, construction, transportation. And we're still kind of waiting to as the economy opens back up, what does that mean for jobs? Certainly there are jobs. There's just more competition for each job. So, if you're in a job market where you have more applicants, then it does get harder for each student to apply and to get that interview. But for example, in Handshake, last week we posted 770 jobs. This time last year, we posted 957. So it's certainly a decrease, but there's certainly opportunities. I went on to LinkedIn, and there's a really nice page in LinkedIn for companies that are currently hiring. And there are literally, I didn't count, but probably hundreds of companies that are currently hiring. So what I would say, even more important than what industry has been hurt or hasn't been hurt, is really the job search is different. So, I would really say, as you look at your resume, you have to tailor your resume for each job in order for it to stand out. And then also, if you do some research, if you know of someone who works at a company that you are interested in, have them refer you to HR. About 40% of all new hires typically are employee referrals. Most companies have an employee referral program where there's an incentive for the employee to refer someone. Often that referral gets preferential treatment. And so that could be a foot in the door where, again, on LinkedIn, there's an alumni section on LinkedIn. Research that, find someone that you can connect with and have them refer you. And that may help you get a foot in the door, or at least a phone screen or an interview. But I would check all of your resources, LinkedIn, Handshake. There are jobs. It's just very competitive because of supply and demand right now. And as far as which industries, I think it's still a little early to know exactly which ones are coming back. And again, it could be geographically based too. Some states are hit harder than other states. So, there could be some states where there's more jobs because the coronavirus has impacted them less than other states. So it's not really a one size fits all, but I think it does require a lot more research and a lot more work on a job search.
Thank you. Okay,
Steven.
Claire. Yes.
Sorry, just to piggyback off of that, Career Shift, the resource that Claire mentioned, on their homepage, they have a COVID impact hiring spreadsheet that seems pretty accurate, if Jim would agree, that is gathering a lot of research on who's hiring freezes, who's delays, who's has layoffs. So those can be some warning signs that you can do research if you're interested in a company. I would recommend that one rather than some random websites that are listing all of the companies that's more negative. This is much more accurate. So I would recommend CareerShift for that. And CareerShift also has a new feature since the pandemic that allows you to search just for remote jobs. So that's a really helpful tool as well. If you aren't comfortable working in an office yet, you can search specifically for that.
Thank you. Okay, Claire, what should we do if we keep applying for positions, but we don't hear back?
Okay. So if you keep applying for a position and you don't hear back, I would follow up is key to success in your job search. So I would try to find some people to follow up with. And if there is not a phone number or an email listed in the job listing, I would use CareerShift or LinkedIn, the alumni on LinkedIn, to try to find a contact. In CareerShift, if you look up contacts, a lot of times you'll get a phone number or an email, and you can just let whoever you reach out to know that you got their information from a database through the University Career Center, and that you were wanted to check in about an application. And if they're not the right person, ask them who should you reach out to. If you do know. If you have a contact in HR and you know who their hiring manager is, we've gotten that question, who's the best person to follow up with? That might vary by organization. Just making sure you do follow up, whether it's with someone in human resources or whether it's with a hiring manager, just making sure that you do that follow up is really important. It shows you have initiative. It shows you're really interested, and it gets your name in front of the employer again. So that's really critical to your success as you're applying. And also, to piggyback on what we were just talking about, another resource that's on the front of our website, we've organized a list of employers and resources that are hiring during this time of COVID-19. So that is a special link that is on our website that you can also tap into. In addition to CareerShift, there's some other links there too. Okay.
Thank you. We actually have a follow-up question from the Q&A about this topic. And it asks, what if you follow up, but they will not tell you the status of your application? And any of the panelists can feel free to jump in.
Keep applying. Keep applying to other spots. You don't put all of your eggs in that basket. Expect delays. Expect hiring delays. Expect delays in responses. I know I haven't really been following my 24-hour rule for email responses. So these recruiters are humans too, right? They could be working from home and have kids that they're trying to teach at home. There's a lot of things going on. So I like to tell students to be politely persistent right now in your job search. So following up after 2 weeks, following up again after 2 weeks, it'll show you're really interested and dedicated to this position. But definitely expect those delays. So you got to keep on applying.
And if I could, and I agree with that. And then also understand the hiring managers might be in a delay themselves. So even though you're experiencing a longer time period, they may not know what their hiring needs are. So they're going to continue to talk to applicants. But in addition to sending kind of a thank you email, I would also send a written thank you card, because when I talk to recruiters, very, very rarely do they get those, but they really appreciate when they do.
Great, thank you. And like Jim mentioned earlier, the competition is getting a little bit tougher right now. I had a friend tell me that they saw a job on LinkedIn. It had been posted for a week and it had 800 applications already. So it can be hard for recruiters to follow up sometimes because those are just applications through LinkedIn. That's not also including their website, Indeed, or other job boards as well. All right, so the next question is for Jonathan. How important is networking right now? And how do I actually make beneficial connections virtually?
This is actually a great segue from the last conversation, the last question. I feel like as a way, if you're applying to a job and you're not hearing back and you approached HR and still not hearing back, as you are networking on LinkedIn or other areas or resources, if you can find other people, like someone on LinkedIn, maybe that went to Virginia Tech, that has a connection with that company, that could be a way to get some inside information based on their experience. You know, you may have meet someone who maybe got hired a year ago, and maybe they have an inside tip or connection that can help you as you move forward. And so I would say as you do networking, that can also be a great way to help you find other people to contact with that company. So as Jim and Claire mentioned, LinkedIn is a great resource. And I would say, as you network, think about the fact that most jobs nowadays are found through networking. I would say about 80% of our jobs are found through networking. Actually, the job I have now at Virginia Tech, I actually got through a connection that I had in North Carolina, where I'm from. And through his influence, my director put me on her list. And so I was able to get an interview based on his connection. So networking does work. It's not always an exact process, or it doesn't always guarantee a job, but it's a great way to use people as a resource to help you as you move forward in your job search. But one thing I would say about networking is that it's a two-way process. When you reach out and try to find someone on LinkedIn or in your personal network, think about the fact that, think beyond just the fact that I'm looking for a job. Think about, how can I begin a conversation and make it about that person? So for example, as many of you may have seen on LinkedIn, when you connect with someone, you can add a note or a message to make it more personalized. We recommend that in the LinkedIn process. And when you do your basic intro, telling them who you are, that you're a recent grad, think about a question to ask that person that connects them to the conversation. For example, ask them a question about their career journey. If they're working for a company that interests you, ask them a question that relates to, how has their experience been with that company? What has helped them move forward as a young professional or as a more seasoned professional? You know, what things have helped them move forward in the industry and that actual job sector? So again, make it about that person. And I think, in my opinion, and I make most of our opinions here in the Career Center, if you make it about the person and ask them a question about them, they're more apt to respond. People love talking about themselves. I think a lot of our alumni, people who have been out in the workforce, they love talking about themselves. So with networking, make it intentional, make it personalized, make sure you personalize your connection if it's virtually on LinkedIn or other ways. And again, think about people you already know. So again, as recent grads, you may have people you were in classes with that may have connections to their family that you can use in your job search. So you may have friends who are in the same boat as you, but they may have a friend that works for that organization or agency that interests you. Think about your faculty. And a lot of the faculty here at Virginia Tech that you may have had good connections with last year when you were a student, or this past semester, they may still have connections in their former career path. So some of our faculty here at Virginia Tech used to work in industry before they came to Virginia Tech. Think about your faculty. So if you still have those strong faculty connections, also too, if you're thinking about graduate school, again, faculty can be a great resource for the graduate school process. So use them as a resource to help you with recommendations, helping you find graduate programs. If you're looking for a position in a graduate program where you can work as an assistantship or what have you, faculty can be a great resource. So yeah, I would add that just to piggyback on the last conversation. But yeah, networking is very important. I think especially right now in this virtual world that we're in, the more people you can find that can help you move forward to answer your questions. Again, it may not lead to a job initially, but at the very least, it can help you get your initial questions answered about, where do I want to move forward? If I have a question about an industry or a job, if you know someone in that industry already, that can help you get those initial questions answered to help you move forward in your career path and career journey.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I would love to piggyback on that. I know this question was asked by quite a few of you, so I want to spend a little bit of time answering networking questions. I think networking is everything that Jonathan said, 100%. Networking, I think, is even more important in your job search during a recession and pandemic. So that should be the #1 priority and the #1 time use in your job search. If you were to actually think about your whole job search as like a full-time job, this should be like the #1 priority for that job. I would also say, going back to way earlier about applying and never hearing back and all these hiring delays, having a connection with somebody in the company can be your inside scoop of what's going on with hiring. Are there budget cuts? You know, what's going on? Is that person on vacation? You know, so that can really help be your inside information, is to have a connection there. And I would definitely recommend LinkedIn, #1 networking tool out there. If you have questions about LinkedIn and how to use that, feel free to put them in the chat box here in the Q&A and we'll answer them. I would also recommend you meet with us one-on-one. So we have career services available for all alumni up to 2 years out, regardless of your campus. So please make an appointment one-on-one. We can help you with your LinkedIn profile, give it some touch-ups, give you recommendations, also can show you a lot of really great search features to be able to find these people to connect with, because you may be asking, well, how do I even find these individuals, right? We can help you through that more one-on-one in a personalized way. Thanks. You can go back to it, Stephen.
All right, Alyssa, this next one's for you as well. And I think this is also a question a lot of students are wondering. So should I take a job offer that's not related to my future career goal just so I can have income for the immediate time? And if I do, how can I get back into my career field afterward?
It's a really great question. I never want us to tell our Hokies to settle. You should never be settling. However, being flexible and adaptable, I think, is really helpful. You know, for some people, the finances is going to be the top priority, not the dream job. Is it really likely that you may get the dream job right after graduation? No, not really. But it's even less likely given the current times. So never settling at all, but being more open to different ideas. So maybe it's in the general industry, but not your dream company. Maybe you wanted to work for a really small company and the only offer you have is with a large one. Give it a shot and try it out. You might be surprised. You might end up falling into a position that you end up loving. So just make the most out of it. And I would say to try to stay there at least a year. That is kind of the bare minimum for it to not look suspicious on your resume. But again, we're in unprecedented times. So recruiters a year or two from now look back and see, oh, you were in that position from August 2020 till November 2020. Right, there was a pandemic. It's okay. So I think they're going to be a little bit more okay with that right now. So definitely not settling in that way. And what I would say in that time that you're there, maybe not in the dream job that you were hoping for, is to make the most of it through your connections, right? So try to be really intentional with your time and then always looking out for the next position. So there might be some hiring delays now, sure, but try to find positions that maybe you want to apply to when they're finally back open, and your network can help you with this. And look through the job description and kind of do a checklist. Yep, I've got that, or I'll be able to develop this in this job. And then if there's a few that you highlight that you aren't as comfortable with or not really ready for that next step, do a gap analysis and really make intentional goals and talk to your supervisor about that. Are there ways that you can be developing those competencies in a different way to make the most of your time in your maybe not ideal job search position? I would also say to be more open to geographic areas. I moved down here from Boston and I haven't regretted it a second. It was a huge leap. I didn't know a single person in the state of Virginia, but hey, I'm doing it. And 2 years later, I'm still thriving here. So try to not have that barrier in your mind of, oh, I only want to stay in this area, unless you absolutely need to. That's understandable. So try to be a little bit more flexible and open, and you might just end up in your dream job unintentionally.
If I could add to that quickly, I would say also if you end up in a job that's not your first choice, and like Alyssa mentioned, I agree, I wouldn't settle, but if you end up in an industry or career that's not your first choice, think about what transferable skills you can take from that job to that job that you want to pursue moving forward. And so you may hear that term from many of us here in the Career Center, but think about what are the transferable skills that you can take from any job to take on to that internship or position. So, and again, your resume comes into play with that, how you market yourself and your network, and we can all help with that as career advisors. So again, think about what you can take away from that position, even though it may not be ideal in that moment as you move forward.
I would also just add to that too, that we can, if you aren't in the most ideal position, we can help you with how you phrase that on your resume to pull out those transferable skills. So if you're unsure of how to actually word this on your resume when you are in the job and post-job, we can help you craft those bullet statements, which just also made me think about bullet statements for the possibility that your internship was rescinded or your full-time job offer was rescinded. Should I list that on my resume? The answer is yes. So the Career Center has agreed that absolutely, you earned that position, you worked for it, you interviewed it, you got it, it was just taken away or moved virtual. So you can definitely list that, and the only bullet statement under there should just be rescinded due to COVID-19. That's all you need to say. And that way it is still shown on your resume that, yes, I had an internship or I did have an offer, because that company and that connection may be able to help you later down the road as well.
Yeah, if I could just add something on that as well. So if you take a job outside of your industry, which is, as it could be the best thing you ever do. Or if you do want to go back, pivot back into your industry, if you're out for a year or two, make sure you're doing something to maintain your skills so you stay relevant. If you want to go back into the industry that you initially wanted to go back into, join a professional organization, take an online class, do something that keeps your skills relevant. So when you make that pivot, that makes sense for the employer.
Great, thank you. Okay, Claire, this is a topic I know you love to talk about. How do you know what to expect for salary, and how do you negotiate a salary during a pandemic?
Okay, so let me get my notes. There are a number of resources that you can tap into to help you develop that salary range that you want to ask for in case an employer asks you that very difficult questions. You already want to have done your research and have a range in mind. And so one tool you can use to come up with your range is our first destination report. That is data that we collect from undergraduates as they graduate, and it's available right from the very front of our website. You can tap into that report, and it breaks the data down into percentiles, and it gives you a mean as well. So you can get a good idea, people in your major, what are the salary amounts for them. The current data that is there, there's several years worth of data, but the most recent report is from 2019 graduates. We are in the process, and I know you haven't gotten this from us yet, we are gearing up to collect that data from those of you who are who are graduating this summer or graduated in May. So that's actually going to be sent out next week. But that's a great resource for you. And we have a page on our website that has all kinds of links to salary data. I will highlight one of my favorite sites is salary.com, where you can type in a particular job title and you can type in a location. And then it presents this bell graph for you. It presents a bell curve, and then you can put more data into that inquiry, where you can put in your years of experience and your level of education, and it actually provides you with a range for that particular job at that particular location. Wonderful resource as you're creating your acceptable range. And then as you establish that range and you've done your research, how do you figure out, what's the bottom of your range and the top? The bottom number is what you want. And then, so what do you make the top amount? The top amount, you could start out at 20% higher than your bottom amount of what you want. And then if you look at that and you're like, well, that's way too broad, then you can bring down the top number a little bit. I did do some research about negotiating for a job offer during COVID-19, and many of the steps are similar to what they are before, where you want to have done your research and you want to be able to say how you add value, know your value. How do you add value to an employer? Is it through experiences you've had? Is it through key skills and knowledge that you have? What do you have that adds value? And so as you negotiate, some key steps during this crazy time, one is to have a conversation with the employer about how is your business during this time that we've faced during the past 4 months with COVID-19. How has that impacted your business? But you want to have done research prior where you know a little bit about that. And I really like this question that was shared in one of the articles that I read. Here's the question. Tell me how COVID-19 has impacted your company, how the company is recovering, and what that timeline looks like. How will the role that I'm interviewing for address these challenges, and find a solution. And then after you hear more about your role, that's where you can jump in and talk about how you add value. One suggestion I did see in some of the articles that I read was, rather than negotiating for maybe multiple things that you care about during this time of COVID-19, that you now pick one thing that you want to negotiate. So what's most important to you? Is it a higher salary based on your research? Is it that you want to have a more flexible schedule and see if they'll work with you for that? Is it that you want to work remotely and so you want to see if that's a possibility? But so for you to pick that one key thing. And then as you get to saying yes, make sure before you say yes that you ask for time to think, that you don't immediately say yes, and that you consider the whole hiring experience as you do decide to say yes.
I would love to follow up with that. All awesome information. We can definitely help you one-on-one. I know salary negotiation can be really challenging for everyone, but especially a recent grad, if it's your first time negotiating, it's a little terrifying. You're not in it alone, so you can practice with us. We can also walk through an offer line by line with you and explain what those mean and what is negotiable, maybe what isn't, help walk you through some of the resources that Claire shared. So definitely make an appointment with us so we can help you through that process, and you can feel as prepared and confident as possible. One note about the first destination report that Claire mentioned, we do usually send that out every April, and because April was a little nutty, we thought it would be pretty tone deaf if we sent it out right then, knowing what was happening to our graduates. So that is why we pushed it off in sensitivity to the pandemic. So we are gonna send that out Monday. So do keep an eye out in your email inboxes for that and fill it out as soon as possible so we can have more data and know where you are at in your job search. And it is anonymous, so don't forget about that. We will be sending you a post-event survey to see any feedback about today's session. And in that, we will also ask about where you are in your job search. Did you have an offer rescinded, etc. So please provide us some of that information as well. And one more salary resource that I've learned to love is LinkedIn. LinkedIn salary is an opportunity in there that a few years ago I never would have recommended because it wasn't that great. And now I was in there the other day and I was really impressed with how robust and accurate some of the data was. You can look by lots of different job titles, geographic location, even if you have a PhD or master's or bachelor's. So that can be really helpful for my grad students out there. Definitely recommend that.
Great, thank you. Our office has seen the memes, and we know the job description jokes about having 10 years of experience for an entry-level job and paying $8 an hour. So we know this is a frustration for a lot of students. So Jim, would you mind sharing a little bit about how does someone actually find an entry-level job?
Yeah, a couple of ways. One, you're going to see a lot of jobs in Handshake that might say 2 to 5 years experience. I would not let that stop you at all from applying to those jobs. I can tell you, I personally have had a number of conversations. We don't look at all the jobs that get posted, but occasionally we'll work with an employer and we'll have them send the posting to us. And often they'll default to something that says that. I've even had a job posting that said 5 to 10 years experience. And I've had to call the employer and they're like, oh no, we can take that off. Because and again, I can't speak for all employers and all jobs, but typically they'll have kind of a posting that they'll modify for certain places. And sometimes they leave years of experience on that. But they understand when they were posting at a university that students don't have the years of experience. And certainly if it says, 2 years experience, I would have you look at your resume and all of the experiences that you have had. If it's class projects, if it's internships, if it's co-ops, whatever you have, I would make sure that you add those things, because the employer, they're going to first look at your educational background. And then they're going to look at your related experience. And then they're going to look at your unrelated experience. So I would not, if you see a job posted and it's 0 to 2 or even 2 to 5, and you're interested in it, I would not let that be a deterrent, because thinking that you're not qualified for that job. But again, I would say all the jobs in Handshake should be entry-level jobs, unless they just put it in the wrong place. And then you can find, again, LinkedIn has a place. Handshake has a place for new hires. But the first place I would look, or the best advice is, I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to it unless the job title is senior director and the responsibilities are clearly not what you have. But if you have everything other than the fact that it says 2 years experience or 2 to 5 years experience, I would still absolutely apply to that job, because I think many employers just have that on there, but it may not always be appropriate.
Great, thank you. Jonathan, could you tell us if a recent grad is not getting any interviews from their applications, should they just go to graduate school instead?
That's a great question. So we get this question a lot, and I would say don't just go to grad school to avoid the job search. So if you're not finding a job, I would not go to grad school just for that reason. But think about grad school as helping you with your career journey. So for example, if you feel like pursuing a program in a master's program or a doctoral program will help you move forward in developing new skills to help you prepare for a future position, that's a great reason to attend grad school and to move forward in that process. But I wouldn't just go because, well, I'm not finding a job, I'm not having luck in the job search, or I'm taking a break, I'm going to go to grad school. So I would say try to make your graduate school process and your graduate school journey, again, intentional. I like using that word, intentional. So I think about, okay, what is your future career goal? And again, if you have a question about finding that career goal, we're here to help you have that conversation as career advisors. But try to fine tune what your future overall long-term career goal is. And when I say long-term, I don't mean it has to be your entire plan for the rest of your life for a career, but maybe the next couple of years. So maybe a couple of years, 3 years, or what have you. Think about what your ideas about that are, and then what graduate programs may fit that process. And again, in thinking about graduate schools, as you do your research on graduate programs and you try to find programs to pursue, think about what programs match that career journey as best as possible. It may not be a direct connection between the program you're pursuing and the actual careers that you may find, but there's some connection that may help you kind of move forward in that process. That's a great plan of action to move forward with graduate school as well, because graduate school and the career journey are very closely aligned. They can work together. So again, let that kind of drive your career journey process and moving forward.
Great.
I just have a couple of things to add. One is that we have a whole part of our website that relates to researching graduate school programs and applying to graduate schools. So you might want to check that out. And it has one page there. It has questions to ask yourself as you're considering applying to graduate school. And some really good questions to ask yourself. And some graduate programs, like many really strong MBA programs, want you to have some work experience before they'll even look at your application for their MBA program. So it's important that you do that research as well.
Great, thank you. So we are going to pivot now to the Q&A section. The first question we have is, how can we ask for internships or co-ops if the employer doesn't currently have an opening? And any of the panelists can feel free to jump in right now.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, so, well, I would take it further than just internship or co-op. I would say, again, it's all networking. So it's actually, if a company doesn't have a job posted, I wouldn't, and you want to work there and you're interested in working there, I wouldn't wait until there's a posted job, because once a job hits a job board, just like the example earlier, there are going to be 800 applicants to that really quick. So if there is a job that you want at a certain company, I'd be networking with the recruiter or someone within that organization before the job is posted. But to go back to answer the specific question, I think it depends if it's a large organization or a small organization. You know, say it's a small organization that's never really had an internship or a co-op program. Certainly reach out to them and talk to about the benefits of that, because maybe they've wanted to have an intern, but they never really knew how to do that. So certainly reach out to them and talk about the benefits of you interning and what you would bring to their organization. And that actually might be a really great thing, because they may not have a budget right now to hire a full-time person, but then maybe they have projects that need to be done. So if you would reach out to them, that could create a really great opportunity for both you and the company. And then when they have a budget for a full-time job, that puts you in a leading position. So I would definitely, the fact that they don't have anything posted, I would still be reaching out to those companies to put you at the forefront, so when they do have something.
I was just going to share a quick personal anecdote of my sister, who found a company when she relocated to Denver, who does what she does, and was really interested and loved their company. So she just emailed them cold and said, "Hi, my name is Teresa. I just relocated from Connecticut and I'm in this industry. I stumbled upon your website, and I think she sells wine for a living. So she said, you know, your portfolio of wine is amazing. I would love to just connect with you. Here's my resume if there happen to be any openings." That was on a Wednesday. It turns out that Monday, their representative, their sales rep, put in their 2 weeks notice. So it was prime time, and she just had no idea. And it was a small, very small family-owned company. So they weren't going to pay to go and post it on Indeed and LinkedIn and all these places you have to pay to post. So they were really just going with their network. By Friday afternoon, they had lunch, and that was like a lunch interview. By Monday, she had the offer. So taking that leap of a cold email in a really professional way, you just have no idea what's going on or if they would even post publicly. So better to also show initiative, right? Employers love that. So I think there's no harm in it. So always reach out.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, the next question is for Claire. The example interview questions you spoke earlier, would you mind typing those in the chat when you have a chance?
Oh, sure.
Thank
Yes.
you. All right, and the next question, maybe Alyssa, you would like to address this. Can we add our research experience time and the work experience time? Many jobs require 5 years of experience.
Definitely. Add all of that up. Even your GRA, that's 20 hours a week, which we all know is more than 20 hours a week. Add that time up. So if you've been doing that for 4 years in your PhD, add that time up and see what would equate to the traditional 1 year of work experience would ideally be about 40 hours a week. So if you can add all that up, your summer internships that were full-time, and you've had a few of those, add all that up and then see how it compares to their required or their desired years of experience. But that is absolutely experience. Unless they very explicitly say 4 years of professional working experience, then they want you to be in the field full-time out of school for 4 years. But if they just say, you know, we want this PhD or we want whatever education, and you meet that plus 3 years experience, and they just say experience, that can be a lot of things. So that can be your discretion. And again, I'd be happy. Some of these things are more personalized. So meeting one-on-one with a career advisor could be really helpful. And while I'm on that subject, I'm going to go ahead and show everyone who your career advisor is. So we have a college advisor or a liaison to every college, including the graduate school. So over here we have Jonathan for liberal arts and sciences, Meredith for architecture and urban studies, Heidi with engineering, Jen with the College of Science, Leanne with business school. Jay has 2 colleges, he's an overachiever, agriculture and life sciences, natural resources and environment. And then there's me with the graduate school. So you can find our names on Handshake and meet explicitly with us for your industry-specific questions, and I encourage you to. If you happen to have issues with your Handshake where it says something about Blacksburg campus, you can't make an appointment, go ahead and give us a call at the front desk. and we can get you on the calendar. We don't want any barriers for our 2020 grads to be able to meet with us right away. So if Handshake is saying something funky to you, go ahead and give us a call and refer the fact that you are here at the Roundtable event, and we can get you an appointment.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question is, for recent graduate international students, we only have 3 months to find a job. Do you think it is a good idea to discuss our visa status with people we connect with or potential employers? So I actually serve as our liaison to our international student population in my office. And yes, it is important for you to talk about your work authorization options. I'm assuming because most international students are on an F1 visa at Virginia Tech that you are as well. So you do need to know what your work authorization benefits are. So OPT, OPT STEM extension, H-1B visas, you have to be able to talk about those options and what it means for the employer so that they know what their ability is to hire you. Especially smaller companies or newer companies sometimes don't even know that they're able to hire an international person. So by being informed yourself, you can help inform the employer. And you don't want to go through the entire process and get an offer just to find out that they have a company policy that they won't sponsor. So it's important to be upfront and honest early on. Yeah, thank you for that question. The next question is it appropriate or recommended to connect with research advisors on LinkedIn from other universities I applied to in which I was either not accepted or turned down their offer? Would this be a useful way to stay in touch when or if I apply for PhD programs in a few years in the same field? Alyssa, would you like to take that?
Yes, the answer is yes, 100%. Any network is a good network to have. It's even if you, as long as you turn down the offer professionally and respectfully and you didn't burn that bridge, you can stay connected with them. I'm still connected with folks on LinkedIn that I rejected their job offer from. So yes, it's okay. You know, your world and your, especially once you're getting into some scientific research, your circle of who's in your industry is very small. So use those connections, and you never know, they might move universities too. So you'd want to stay along with the ride and stay connected for sure.
Thank you. Another question we have is, who should we contact about internships or co-op opportunities? Is it the recruiter, a manager, or somebody else at an entry-level position?
Well, I mean, if you're contacting the employer cold and you don't know anyone, you would first start through HR, through the Human Resources Department. You know, if you know of if you have a contact and you know a supervisor who's had an internship in his or her area, certainly reach out to a contact if you know. But at the first point of contact, if you don't know anyone, I would find out who the recruiter is, either on LinkedIn or do a Google search, and I would reach out straight to that person.
Thank you. We've had a few questions also about virtual career fairs. How will those operate? How can I be successful? Would anybody like to take that?
I will begin an answer. And what I would say, because I've been talking to a lot of recruiters, and so the virtual job fairs is new to everybody, or most everybody. So at Virginia Tech, has been stated earlier, all the job fairs will be virtual. So I would say learn as much as you possibly can prior to the fair. So when the recruiter sets up their booth, they'll have a virtual booth and they'll have information about themselves, information about the jobs, any information in their booth that they would want you to know. You would enter their booth and you'd be able to read and learn, and you would have a chat feature where you could chat one-on-one with the recruiter. You'll upload your resume, so they'll have your resume in front of them. And if there's an application process, they would walk you through that in the chat room. But I would there'll be more educational that for both the employer and the student that will be coming out soon. But I would say to learn as much as you can and get as comfortable with the platform, because that's going to be the platform that we're going to be using come fall.
Great. And there's another follow-up question saying, are recent graduates allowed to attend virtual career fairs at Virginia Tech?
Yes, absolutely. You should be able to, as long as you have a vt.edu email address, if that's correct, Jim. This is also a new platform that we truly just signed a contract for, so it's a new world for all of us. The career advisors here at Virginia Tech are going to get super familiar with it as quick as we can to give you the best advice. And we're also going to be offering a lot of workshops early in the fall about virtual career fairs. So keep an eye out on Handshake for events. They're going to be all virtual to help prepare you for the career fair, in addition to drop-in services and all of that information.
Oh, sorry. I think this will be our last question. I feel like I've applied to every job that I can find that I'm interested in. How do I find other opportunities out there? So I think they might be asking about the hidden job market.
I was going to add,
No, go ahead.
I was going to add also to piggyback on some previous questions. I think also if you're looking for jobs and tapping into the hidden job market, we've mentioned networking several times through LinkedIn, through faculty, through your personal network. I would also say volunteering with an organization, in particular, if you're thinking about a federal government job. I know some federal agencies will actually count volunteer experience as time or experience. So the question earlier about if I'm looking for a job and they say 1 year experience, 2 years experience, if you volunteered with that organization or a similar organization, or if you volunteered with an organization and that gives you a chance to kind of get a feel for the industry, you may learn about some hidden opportunities by volunteering. And that could lead to maybe an eventual actual work experience, an internship, a full-time position, or entry-level position. So I'm just going to add just to just think about as you volunteer, don't discount that, because that can be a way to get your foot in the door to begin that process to the hidden job market.
Great, thank you. Alyssa, would you like to wrap up the webinar?
Yeah, thanks. Big thank you to all of our panelists for taking the time and sharing your words of wisdom today. So round of applause. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you who participated, submitted questions in advance, and submitted questions during the live Q&A. If you have any questions about this event, or if there were resources that we went through really fast and you couldn't write them all down, go ahead and email cpd@vt.edu and we can help clarify any of those follow-up questions. You also should have my email from the Handshake link, so you can always email me directly. It's just first name, last name @vt.edu. And I would love to end, since we still have a 2 minutes, that each of the panelists go around and share one phrase, maybe one word, just one sentence. You only get one for time, that you want to leave our 2020 graduates with to help motivate them into this job search.
I'll start. So it's not a matter of if you're going to find a job, it's just when you're going to find a job. And your attitude and your mental stability is really important during this time. So you're going to get a job, you're going to be fine, but just take care of yourself mentally to not get down on yourself, because that could hurt you in the job search as well.
Thanks, Jim.
I'll kind of piggyback off that. One thing we like to say in our office is that career development, or finding a job, or the career development process is a lifelong journey. So you're only in the beginning stage of that. And so to Jim's point, just keep that in mind, that what you're thinking about now may change in a few years, and may change in 10 years, 20 years, or whatever. But I would say just enjoy the journey. Don't get so caught up in, I'm going to figure it all out right now. I know most of you may be in your early 20s, but just think about the fact that you have plenty of time to map out this process. So again, think about where do I want to be now, and then just enjoy the journey of where does that lead you in the years to come. So try to enjoy the journey. Again, take a breath and just enjoy the process. But we're here to help you. You're not by yourself. Again, we're all here to help you in the process.
Jonathan, you stole mine. I was going to say you are not alone. You are not alone in this process. So to remember that we are here for you. You have services up to 2 years after graduating through the Career Center. So please take advantage of the resources. We don't have summers off, so we're here all day to meet with you over an appointment, over Zoom, over phone, whatever we can do to help you out. So please utilize the services available. You are not alone.
So my parting advice is 6 words: apply less, tailor more, and follow up. And then also Winston Churchill's quote, never, never, never.
Oh, Claire, you muted yourself a little bit at the end. Never, never, never what?
Never, never, never give up.
There we go. I feel like the really important part was at the end there. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Again, I really appreciate everyone joining today. Please give us a call or send us an email. I will be sending out an email to everyone who registered on Handshake with a survey. So please provide us your feedback. We would love to hear what additional questions you have and how helpful today's webinar was. Here at Career and Professional Development, we wish you the absolute best of luck in your job search and all a wonderful rest of your summer, and that you stay safe and healthy and hired. Thank you so much. Take care.